All right, welcome to today's verdict, where legal issues meet real-world consequences. Coming up, Diddy's high-profile trial ends with a dramatic verdict. What convinced the jury, and what does it mean moving forward? Then a major decision from New York's top court could transform how the justice system handles serious mental illness. And later, a viral kiss cam moment involving Astronomer CEO and HR chief is raising tough questions about workplace ethics and leadership conduct. As you can see, we have much to get to, so stay tuned. Tonight's verdict starts right now. All right, hello, welcome to today's verdict, the interactive show that gives you your legal rights and options. I'm your host and trial attorney, David Lesch. Well, today's verdict always encourages you to stay connected. Make sure to tweet us at David Lesch and hashtag Ask Today's Verdict if you have a question. And check us out at BronxNet.tv. After weeks of testimony, Diddy's trial verdict is in. Today we break down the key evidence and what shaped the jury's decision with our legal expert in criminal defense, Douglas Rankin. Douglas, it's good to see you today.
Good to see you, Dave. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. So it seems like every generation has has that one trial, that you're never going to forget. And,
right.
This is this generation's trial, the P. Diddy trial. Let's just talk a little bit about what he was even charged with, because some people weren't even sure. What the charges were. What were the charges?
Well, there's basically 5 charges. The first and overarching charge was racketeering conspiracy. And basically they're saying that he was running a criminal enterprise for the purposes of committing illegal acts. Then they broke down 4 different charges based upon 2 different people. So they then had a sex trafficking charge that dealt with Miss Ventura, the one that was his girlfriend for a very long time, the infamous video where he's in the hotel. They then charged, in regards to Ms. Ventura, the Mann Act, which is basically transporting her across state lines with the intent to engage in prostitution. And then they did the same for the witness who was under the pseudonym Jane. That was an old ex-girlfriend. Yeah. Same sex trafficking charge, same Mann Act charge. And that was it.
What carried the biggest penalty, the RICO violation?
The RICO violation. They get life. Now,
what made them think they could possibly be successful with that kind of charge, when usually it's used against, organized crime?
It is definitely a very overreaching type of prosecution here when you talk about bringing a RICO charge against someone like Sean Combs. He does not have a criminal organization under the rubric of like the mafia or anything like that. And, one of the things about racketeering conspiracy is that you have to prove 2 criminal acts within a 10-year period that were done to further the conspiracy. So that became really hard.
Very difficult.
Very difficult. Now, they tried one with the testimony of the actor and singer who said his car was attempted to be blown up. So that would be one. But the problem they had was connecting it to the overarching enterprise. So what is the enterprise? The enterprise was sex trafficking. What does the car being blown up have to do with that? So, that's why I think the jury came back with the right verdict. Racketeering conspiracy was very, very complicated.
Listen, most of us know already, but tell us what the verdict was.
Right. So the verdict was 2 counts of the Mann Act, which is transporting with the intent to engage in prostitution. And there were 2 individuals who testified that they were brought there, flown in across state lines for the purposes of engaging in sex that they were being paid for with both Jane and Miss Ventura.
Now, during the trial, did the defendant actually admit to this type of behavior with respect to bringing people over state lines, or?
No.
No, he did not.
The defense presented 0 witnesses. They only presented documents, which were in the form of text messages, which I'll get to and were very important. The government put forth 34 witnesses in 29 days.
Wow.
And the real important witnesses were Jane, Miss Ventura, and Mia. Mia was she ran Diddy's day-to-day affairs because she was more towards the RICO racketeering conspiracy charge. And obviously Mia and Jane were more towards the sex trafficking as well as the Mann Act charge. Now, the sex trafficking charge, he was also acquitted of that, okay? Now, the reason why he was acquitted of the sex trafficking charge is basically you have to prove that it's basically three components. One of them is means. Means means how were they sex trafficked, you know, in what way? And it's either by force, coercion, or fraud. But they clearly, by text messages and in their own testimony, admitted they were voluntarily at the freak-offs and all that other stuff. So you weren't going to get that either.
What type of penalty does the prostitution charge now?
So basically there are two counts. And because it's two individuals, they can run consecutively. Consecutively meaning one on top of the other. A lot of times when you're convicted in one trial, all your counts run concurrently. Yeah. But in this case, because it's two individuals, it can run consecutively. So the maximum is 10 years. And for each one, the maximum could be 20.
Well, what do you think? I mean, I just,
I mean,
it's a prediction.
So there is...
Most people think he's not getting that much time.
Right. So I am of the opinion, too. Like, there's two ways to look at it. Judge Subranian basically denied him getting bail. Now, he's already served a significant period of time already. And the thought process being that if his sentence was going to be along the lines of a time served or something very short, that you would get bail at this time. And then if you're obviously after the sentence, you can appeal and all the other stuff. And, you know, you see that happen a lot where you could be out for the pendency of your appeal and everything else. But by the judge not doing that, it may send the message that the judge is looking to give a fairly long sentence.
You know, I wonder what we take from this. You know, there's always a lesson to be learned.
Right.
I know we're putting you on the spot there, but what do you think in terms of just this entire experience for everybody? What have we learned anything from this?
Well,
you know, other than celebrity being bad.
I mean, I guess the moral compass of the justice system, you can only push it so far.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the lessons to be learned. Not only did he do things that were pretty amoral, he did things with a smile on his face and a little bit of a, I don't care, I'm Sean Combs.
It's almost like he's always done that.
Yes.
He always seems to just...
Yes, well, his record label is called Bad Boy for a reason.
Well, listen, we don't have too much time left.
I know, I understand.
How's the criminal practice going?
It's going great. It's going great. I want to throw in one thing here, though. My guess on Mr. Combs' sentence is somewhere between 4 to 5 years.
Fine. We'll see.
That's what
we're going to have you back.
I appreciate that. I would love to come back, Dave.
All right, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
There's a new channel to explore, and it's bringing the classics back to life. During the day, relive the BronxNet originals that sparked conversations and built community. At night, dive into the hip-hop throwbacks that defined a generation. One destination, two powerful lineups. Now playing on Optimum Channel 952, FiOS 2138, and streaming at BronxNet.tv. BX Legacy, where history meets the moment.
We're going to start the show right now. This is my favorite part. Ready in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, this is Angel, and I am one of the instructors for the in-studio production. Here at BronxNet, we offer classes that can help you elevate, expand, and start your television career. All you have to do is sign up at bronxnet.org/education. For the past 7 years, I have been in various productions, spanning from talk shows, independent films, news reports, art displays, teachings, musical performances, and many more. Ain't that right, Angel? Yeah, you're absolutely right, Angel. There are a lot of creative individuals that we're just waiting to sign up for the class. And if I may, can I also express that? Thank you, Angel. That's all the time we have left. Visit bronxnet.org/education and become a producer by taking the course. The class I offer is also in English, en español, y también bilingüe. Nos vemos en la próxima clase.
All right, welcome back. We're joined now by Holly Fader-Tao, Director of Justice and Health Initiatives at the Council of State Governments Justice Center. She's here to break down New York's Judicial Task Force on Mental Illness and what it means for improving how courts support people with serious mental health needs. Thanks for being here. I just think this is such an important topic.
Thank you.
I think mental health is just, sometimes ignored by too many people. Do you think things are really changing now in terms of how society views the mentally ill?
I really appreciate you asking and also your attention to the topic. We have seen, particularly since COVID, people are under more stress. There's more awareness of the need to have mental health care. Also, there's a sense that some of the societal supports that help keep people stable, on track, aren't there as much. You have that coupled with an affordable housing crisis. We're turning the corner on the opioid epidemic, but still much to do in terms of how we're helping people with substance use needs, and all of that is coming together to put a lot of pressure on community members and also to put a lot of pressure on communities who are seeing things that they haven't seen in a long time.
Which is why states look to your type of organization for guidance, right? Let's talk a little bit about your organization, if we can. Go ahead.
Sure. So I work at the Council of State Governments Justice Center. We are a membership association for the 3 branches of state government. So we're the place that governors, legislators, and judicial branches come together, and my team works on crime policy. So what we try to do is distill the research, distill what's going on in different parts of the country, and help policymakers, whether it's at the state level or the local level, come up with solutions that are going to make sense for their communities.
So if we take it all the way to the ground level, where there's a judge who's sentencing somebody for a criminal act, and there's mental health issues, your organization may, in some respects, give some type of guidance policy-wise as to how we should be dealing with that particular individual. Am I correct?
Well, it's a great question. Actually, if you step back and think about the training that most judges have, which is what most lawyers have, none of us learn anything about mental illness, right? It's just our life experience. So one of the things my organization does is we work with a group called the Judges and Psychiatrists Leadership Initiative to train judges to recognize that mental health or substance use might be an issue for someone who's coming before them. We give them skills to respond to that case, not just from a legal perspective, but from an interpersonal perspective. For example, what works for a judge in a normal criminal case, using a stern voice, sort of standing up straight and impressing your will, that might really scare somebody who is hearing voices and might not get the judge to where he wants to go. We also work with judges to develop partnerships with community-based mental health treatment providers. So it's not just jail or nothing, it's making a connection. Like, gosh, it really seems like if you got counseling, or if you got your medication stabilized, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Are the judges getting the message?
Absolutely.
Are they understanding?
Absolutely. This is really a sea change I've seen in the time that I've been doing this work, where we have judicial task forces like the one New York State had in almost every single state in the country, where a chief justice or a court administrator is saying that mental illness is an issue that the courts need to care about. They are saying to judges, not only are you not going to get in trouble if you do something about this, but this is something we encourage judges to do, to learn about mental illness and create diversion programs, problem-solving courts, different ways to handle these cases so that the outcomes are overall more just.
I wonder about some of those programs and whether they're, I say mandatory, but is there mandatory a medication that has to be provided? Can you reject the medication? Can you leave whenever you want to leave? Like what What's happening in these programs?
It's a great question, and that's definitely one of the tensions we see is which aspects of court involvement are voluntary. So many of the programs that happen before a case is adjudicated are voluntary. A person will say, I'm opting in to this program, and if I decide not to participate, I'll go back to criminal court as usual.
Yeah. I would assume most people are opting in. Wouldn't that make sense?
Well, unless they're feeling like I'm going to spend my 30 days in jail, but the court is going to be watching my treatment compliance for a year.
For 6 months or a year.
Yeah, so it's a balance, and I think that's a challenge for defense attorneys to help their clients make decisions in their own interests there.
Where do you think we're heading? Are we a more sympathetic society now to the mentally ill? And if so, why?
You know, it's important. What I have learned traveling around the country working on this is that it is an issue that people care about regardless, whether you're on the coasts, in the middle, city, rural. Everybody has a loved one with a mental illness, a loved one who has struggled. And what we're hoping to do is see more policies that reflect that. We don't have systems right now that do a good job getting people care they need.
The topic was shunned for so long among family members and friends and just throughout the neighborhood. I think people are finally realizing that your mental health is just as important as your physical health. And if you don't start getting it treated, especially with the people who unfortunately are committing certain crimes throughout our city, you're gonna suffer for it. So it's just, I think sometimes just getting the people to comply is the hardest thing, really.
It's true. One thing I would say to you and to all your listeners is you're not alone. And the struggling with a mental illness, having a loved one with a mental illness can feel incredibly isolating, can feel incredibly daunting. There are community organizations like the National Alliance on Mental Illness that will support family members through that. There are a lot of peer organizations that can support individuals who are trying to stay connected to care and struggling with those doubts about, do I really want to do this? How do I make that fit in my life? The other new resource that I would want to make sure people know about is 988, which is the...
Tell us about that, please.
Absolutely. 988 is a relatively new dialing code that's an alternative to 911 for behavioral health crisis. So
It's so important.
Anybody can call that number, text that number, and be connected to a crisis counselor who can talk you or your loved one through a situation, and then, if needed, dispatch help.
All right, and I'm sure they could connect 911 if there's an emergency. They're all working together. Any final tips you might want to give someone who's watching today and feels that a loved one has lost their way or something?
Well, again, I would say you're not alone. It's really important to not lose hope. Hope is incredibly important. I think about connecting with NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and as well, tell your policymakers that this is an issue that you care about.
Will you come back and give us a little bit of an update on how's it going?
I'd be happy
See if
to.
New York State has taken all the recommendations that you need?
I would be happy to. I'm really excited about the leadership the state is showing on this
It's
issue.
been wonderful having you. We'll see you soon. All right, don't
Thank
go
you.
anywhere, because we will be right back after this.
Sent from the future to save the past, heal the planet and make it last. We find solutions with knowledge light. Venture forth, echo leaders unite. Echo leaders, echo leaders.
There's a new channel to explore, and it's bringing the classics back to life. During the day, relive the BronxNet originals that sparked conversations and built community. At night, dive into the hip-hop throwbacks that defined a generation. One destination, two powerful lineups. Now playing on Optimum Channel 952, Fios 2138, and streaming at BronxNet.tv. BX Legacy, where history meets the moment.
All right, welcome back. Joining us now is Peter Rahbar, founder of the Rahbar Group, to dive into the legal, ethical, and workplace fallout of that viral CEO HR moment and what it means for corporate accountability and leadership boundaries. This is fascinating.
It's great to be here. Thank you, David.
It's good to have you.
And to talk about this.
So many people want to hear about this. So many people are dating in the workplace and are afraid they're going to be caught and they're going to lose their job. And maybe you could talk to us a little bit about the whole thing.
All of a sudden, people want to talk to me as an employment lawyer at cocktail parties and dinners after years of being shunned. Well, look, this incident has really resonated with a lot of people for a number of reasons. Of course, people have been to games and concerts and seen the kiss cam, but office relationships, especially now that people are back in the office, are really a hot topic of discussion again.
I just remember way back when I was single, there was a statistic that 40% of the people that met through some type of office-related functions or something. So it would make sense that you would possibly fall in love with a coworker or something, but that's a no-no, right? You can't really do that anymore.
In most cases, and the most important thing is, and I get accused of being against office relationships a lot because they can get very messy. The most important thing is to know the rules of your workplace and what policies exist about office relationships, because many companies do have policies. So one clear one that every company I've ever worked with has had is that supervisors can't date their subordinates. And that's what we had in this issue. The CEO is obviously the supervisor of everybody. My personal rule is that CEOs should never date anyone in their company. There's too much of a power imbalance, and there's no way that can't be viewed as coercive on some level. It's also very bad for the image of the company and shows bad judgment. But if you're not the CEO and you're not dating one of your subordinates, can you have a relationship? That's going to be governed by the policy. It should also be governed by your judgment. Is it a good thing for you in your career? There are other people out there, not just the ones you work with.
Right. Well, does it matter whether you have a position in working for the state or a federal level? Do they have any other kind of specific rules where you can't date your supervisor or something, or are they more lax, or is it just really the same?
It's really going to be on a case-by-case basis. Some do, some do not. So some companies have policies that say absolutely no relationships, no matter what. We don't want the mess. We don't want to deal with it. Go live your romantic life somewhere else. Other companies will say, it's fine, but you have to disclose it to us. And of course, you can't be working together and you can't be in the same line of reporting. There are other companies that are very proud of it. Like you said at the outset, I used to have a client that used to boast about how many people met and got married. Of course, I was representing them in a very serious sexual harassment case, so I had a different viewpoint on the policy.
Do you think if the company has the policy where you could kind of come clean and you let them know, listen, I'm dating such and such on the floor, we're the same level in terms of financial, do they usually give you a break, or do they say break that off immediately?
It really
It's
depends.
a case on case.
Case by case. You have to know who you're working with and who you're working for. I mean, companies have plenty of policies and perks. Doesn't mean they always like it when you
I just
use
wonder
them.
I wonder if they just if you work for a company, even if you know those policies.
Right. Well, they're in the handbook.
Okay.
And the handbook's either a printed document, some still are, or they're available online in your portal where you can find your benefits information and your paycheck information. It would be there. Sometimes it's called a relationships policy. Sometimes it's in the sexual harassment policy. And sometimes it's just in a general code of conduct type policy.
Let me ask you a question. Do any of these two individuals who were caught on the camera, do they have any recourse whatsoever? Obviously, you can't sue Coldplay, but is there somebody or something else, or is there anything there for them? If you were their lawyer, could you give them any advice, or no?
I'd like to think I'm a pretty good lawyer, but my advice to them would be, it's time to move on and think about how to, salvage the rest of your career. I mean, they're both, fairly young, and I assume they want to continue working. And so how do you rebuild your reputation, take ownership of what you did, and move forward. But in terms of a claim against the company, none.
Anybody have a claim against them?
Well, the company could have a claim against them potentially. I mean, I assume the CEO has a clause in his contract that says he can't do anything that would put the company in a position of disrepute.
Well, it seems like they've gotten better publicity.
Right. Well, the company really did a really great thing over the weekend. They hired Gwyneth Paltrow to shoot an ad for them, and Gwyneth, of course, is the ex-wife of Chris Martin from Coldplay, so that connection really resonated with people. And it was a really clever ad, and so now people are talking about how great the ad was and not talking about how bad the underlying thing was.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Any final tips? Somebody's watching today and they like a coworker. Is there any thoughts what you would say to them? They're sitting in your office.
I would say just be very careful with office relationships. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of them that have gone bad. And when you do spend that much time together in work environments, they do tend to go bad. It's more often they go bad than good. So my advice is always stay away from it. But if you do, be very careful and make sure it's permitted under your policies.
What other stuff are you working on in your practice? Anything fun and interesting that the viewers always want to know what you have to say? You've been here many times.
Yeah, well, one of the things we talk about a lot is the impact of AI, and people want to know, am I going to be replaced by AI, or what's going to happen to my job? And we have CEOs out there right now who are on a daily basis saying that AI is going to replace large chunks of their workforce. And I would say, if you're an employee, figure out what the best use is for AI in your job and become an expert on it. Become an expert on AI so that you're not the one being replaced. You're the one you're still there.
And I think that, like, the jury's still out as to which occupations are going to be replaced, whether you're a dentist
Sure.
or a lawyer or something. You know, just make sure that you get ahead of it, really, more than anything else.
Right. I mean, lawyers who've over-relied on AI have seen very bad and embarrassing results. And we've seen that in other industries as well. But in general, my advice is to embrace it and find a way to become a go-to person on it rather than the one who's going to be gone.
Great advice, as usual. All right. That's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank our guests for joining us, and of course, you, the viewers, for watching. If you missed any part of today's show, be sure to check it out on YouTube. Also, remember, if there's a legal issue or topic you'd like to see in a future edition of Today's Verdict, feel free to contact me at David Lesch at BronxNet.org or tweet me at David Lesch. Make sure to hashtag Ask Today's Verdict. And from myself and all of us at Today's Verdict, always remember, know your rights, know your issues, reach your verdict. I'm David Lesch, and we'll see you again soon with a new episode of Today's Verdict right here on BronxNet. See you soon.